Today's show is presented by PrizePicks. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack a Day Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL and the podcast at Pack a Day Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today. Super excited because we have a very special guest, Dave Helman. You can find him on the Athletic Football Show on social media at Dave Helman _. Dave, I am so excited to have you for the first time and be chatting with you for the first time. You guys over at the Athletic Football Show did such an incredible job covering the draft. You and Dane with Building the Beast all year long. It's been an absolutely epic entire draft year for you guys. How are you feeling, my friend? And welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here, Andy. Thanks, man. And it feels great. It's just like a giant collective sigh of relief. I mean, we started in August, which it's been such a blast, and it's so rewarding to have covered the entire process from the very beginning and then watch it culminate over draft weekend. And I know Dane is taking some very well-deserved time off. And it's just been nice to kind of catch your breath and sit back and think about how far we came from when we were talking about guys over the summer to watching where they wound up.
Yeah, it's an incredible journey for you guys. And again, I there's days where I wish that I could be covering the draft longer. I'm more in the Robert Mays category where I get through the NFL season and then I have to sort of sprint the draft season at the end a little bit more. But you guys are super helpful in kind of giving me a baseline of draft knowledge before I start digging into the tape a little bit more. So again, congratulations. Again, you guys can follow them, Athletic Football Show. It's in my opinion, the best nationwide football show out there that's covering all 32 teams. You guys do an incredible job. So congrats again on an amazing draft season, my friend.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, hey, let's be honest. It's Dane. Dane is the best guy doing this in the industry. And if I can help him along the way and get his message out to the people, then I'm doing my job okay. But the amount of work that he puts into it is I've known him forever and I know how much work he puts into it, but doing this show with him for the last 9 months just gives you an up close view of how many man hours go into making, yes, that draft guide and being ready for draft weekend. It's an honor to work with who I think is the standard in the industry right now.
Yeah, he's incredible. And it's one thing, to do the scouting reports on the players, right? To get to watch the tape and things like that. But all the detail that he has, from the personal to the background, to the coach's notes, to the off-field concerns, to the that stuff is just, you cannot get that even anywhere else. I honestly don't think there's anything else that has it. Certainly not to the level of that detail. So kudos to him, but don't sell yourself short either. You guys did awesome as a collective the entire year, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Well, let's jump into the Packers 2026 NFL draft. We'll kind of go through pick by pick. I love having someone like yourself on because we, of course, in Packers Nation, we get all the picks and we get green and gold glasses right away. And we love all the picks immediately. Maybe not all the time, but more often than not, we sort of see it through a lens. So I love having somebody on that can have more of a national lens. And again, somebody who's been covering these players from an unbiased look through the past year. So let's start with Brandon Cisse in the second round, second pick. Of course, they don't have the first round pick due to trading Micah Parsons away. I don't think anybody is regretting that in any way, shape, or form. But they stick at pick 52. They take Brandon Cisse, the corner out of South Carolina. The floor is yours, my friend.
We joked about it when the Packers finally made their pick, and there's a lot of anticipation for these teams that don't have a first round pick where, you're waiting until Friday and oftentimes like midway through the second round on Friday to finally see some of these teams make a pick. And when the Packers finally picked Brandon Cisse, I looked at Dane and I was like, oh, okay. Like, at this value, I love this. And Brandon Cisse is a guy that popped up on our radar. I should say my radar, because everybody's on Dane's radar. He popped up on my radar sometime in late October because Dane floated him out there as a potential first round pick. I mean, a guy hey, we're talking a lot about Mansour Delane and Chris Johnson and Jermod McCoy and Colton Hood. But this guy, Brandon Cisse, down at South Carolina, I like his athleticism. I like what I'm seeing. This is a guy we should be talking more about. And from there, when a guy gets mentioned by somebody like Dane, it kind of creates a snowball effect where people that weren't aware of him are going and watching the tape and talking about him. Long story short, he spent some time as a first round sort of name and ooh, maybe this guy's a top 40 pick. Maybe he sneaks into the first round. And I was watching him and I was like, I don't know if I see that. Like, I don't like, I think
Yep.
the tape can be a little bit inconsistent. The athleticism is undeniable. You see it immediately, but like the down to down performance, you're just like, is this guy a first round pick? And so then we get to Friday, and every pick after that, you just start to feel better. Where outside the top 50, I'm like, okay, the upside is very obvious. The athleticism is undeniable. And if that's where he is from a tape standpoint, we can work with that. And
Yeah.
so I think it's very good value for a guy that has a chance to be a regular starter for the Packers. I'll be curious to see. I know Green Bay needs help at corner. I'll be curious to see if he cracks the starting lineup quickly or if he's even like a day one sort of guy. I don't know the answer to that, but I think the value lines up really well with where he is. I think, like I said, if he had been taken in the first round, I might have been like, this feels like a little bit too much of a projection for me. But outside the top 50, even if it's just by a little bit, I think that is a very nice blend of the value of the pick with where he is as a prospect.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think one of the things I like too, we see some of these guys like Stukes and Keontae Scott who are, 24 years old. They're going to be 25 years old this year. And you go look at their tape at age 19 and 20, and it looks a whole heck of a lot different. Whereas Brandon Cisse, his second year at NC State, he's playing at age 19 this past year. In the SEC, he's playing at age 20, and he's more than holding his own and putting up good numbers, and being able to stick with guys like Stribling, who went in the early seconds, I guess, and then he had the great matchup with Concepcion. Concepcion got him on that deep ball for sure, but I just like the fact that he's got so much upside down the road.
Concepcion got everybody which has been a theme in our draft coverage, where it's like, okay, are you bad, or does Casey Concepcion just burn everyone that he plays? So if that's the guy that got you, I think it's okay.
No, I totally agree. Excited and it obviously hits a need too, like you said, at corner. So value hits a need. That's your first pick. I think Goody did a nice job with that one. Let's go to the third round, and they take a 5th round pick to move up to get Chris McClellan, the defensive lineman out of Missouri. Thoughts on the move up and thoughts on what he can bring to Green Bay?
So I think this is actually my favorite pick of the Packers draft, to be honest with you. And I feel like looking over Packers Twitter, and I know that's not always the best barometer, but I got the sense that a lot of people were wondering, like, did the Packers reach? Like, wait, they're trading up for this guy. What's the deal here? The consensus doesn't really line up with where he was drafted. I didn't have more fun in this draft process than I did watching the Missouri defensive front. Chris McClellan, Zion Young is one of my absolute favorite players in this draft class. And then they got a third guy who's at Miami now, Damon Wilson, who's probably going to hear his name called pretty quickly next year. So, I mean, they were just loaded with badass players. And Chris McClellan was right in the middle of that. I mean, just a big, long guy who gives you something as a pass rusher. He's incredibly hard to move. I know, again, maybe the down in, down out tape is not as consistent as you would prefer. And that's why a guy with these measurables falls into the 3rd round. But you just don't coach. Aren't his arms like 34 inches long? I want to make sure I get his measurables right.
I have it too, but they're huge arms, and he has massive hands too. He has both of them. So
11-inch hands, 34-inch arms. And look, if you're not into the workout warrior stuff, that's fine, because there's plenty of stuff all over the tape. Like, he had 6 sacks at Mizzou as a defensive tackle. You see the pass rush juice on a regular basis. I mean, you see him affecting the pocket, throwing guys around, using those big hands to swim past the offensive linemen. I just think he's an incredibly disruptive player on tape. And then this is all Dane, but again, that's why the Beast is such a valuable resource. You hear from Dane that he's got a professional approach. He's a very what's the word I'm looking for? Geez, just he's about his business.
Yep.
Yeah. He lives, breathes football. He's a guy that you can count on day in and day out, a guy that's going to be respected in the room and on the practice field. And yeah, I think this is a guy where if the tape was a little more consistent, you would have never had a shot at him in this draft range, because you just can't coach that size and those measurables. But I'm 100% comfortable taking a chance on A, what we've seen, and then B, you hear the character stuff that leads you to believe that he can continue to grow and progress. I love the guy. Like I said, I love Missouri's entire defensive front. Like those guys just kicked everybody's ass all year, and so to be able to get a piece of that, I think is totally fine. And it makes sense. Like NFL teams, a defensive tackle with real pass rush juice is a hard commodity to come across. And I mean,
very much so.
We will see how it works, but the Vikings decision to draft Caleb Banks, I mean, there are only so many guys that size who can play that position, who can affect the passer that way. And Caleb Banks, it's all injury related. Like if he had a cleaner bill of health, he would have been like a top 10, top 12 type of prospect. And
Easily.
so I think it's totally fine. I don't even want to use the word reach. Like it's totally fine to make a bet on guys with that ability. And he can do the other stuff too. Like you can move him around. He can be your one. He can be the run stuffing guy as well as playing like some 3 or wherever you want to put him in your formation. I think he's incredibly versatile. I think the upside's high. I just if it's not obvious yet, I really love that.
Hey friends, today's show is presented by PrizePicks. I cannot thank PrizePicks enough for partnering with us here at the Pack a Day podcast. Now you're going to want to use the link in the description or go to prizepicks.com. You see a little code in the corner. It is code HMA. Utilize that code to get $50 on your first $5 lineup. You heard that right. $50 on your first $5 lineup. It is so simple to use. You choose more or less on your favorite stack categories. Pick the choices that you like best, and you have the opportunity to win money. They're available in most states, including Wisconsin. Make sure to give me a follow at Andy Herman NFL as well. Today, we're going to be going with some pro football picks. As I mentioned, we got Jackson Dart, 3,249.5 yards. I'm going fewer. We've got Matthew Stafford, 3,874.5 yards. I am also going fewer. And you bet I am also going fewer than 3,524.5 yards on Caleb Williams. I'm excited about football season already with the draft in the books. I cannot wait for it to get here. Check out those picks over on PrizePicks. Again, make sure to follow me at Andy Herman NFL. Use that code HMA and use the link in the description. What are you waiting for? Get those PrizePicks in right now. Hey friends, the draft is officially in the books. I hope you, like me, enjoyed a delicious post-draft pizza. I had the original pepperoni. It was incredible, worth every bite. I was waiting for it throughout the entirety of the draft, and when I had it, it was exactly what I wanted it to be, as it always is with Luigi's. But now it's time to restock the freezer. And today we're talking about the Gourmet Pizza Parlor Supreme Pizza. No better way to stock your freezer than with this one. Now, I love their gourmet line. Budget-friendly, quick-baked pizzas that are huge on flavor without giving you any of that sticker shock when you get your receipt at the end of the transaction. Parmesan and Romano blend, Wisconsin mozzarella, pepperoni, Italian sausage, both perfectly seasoned, mushrooms, black olives, green peppers, onions. This is a loaded pie full of flavor. Bakes at 450 degrees, ready in 10 to 13 minutes. Delicious, quick to make, easy on the wallet. What more could you possibly want? Stop at your local grocer today. Pick up a Gourmet Pizza Parlor Supreme Pizza. Make sure to give Luigi's a follow while you're at it at Luigi's Pizza. What are you waiting for? Stock that freezer full of Luigi's. It's funny because I call them like the third round version of Caleb Banks. Like you've got all this stuff. Obviously, again, not the injury related issues, not the fatigue issues at times, but just the high end flashes and then some stuff that leaves you wanting just a little bit more. But yeah, he has all the stuff that you can't teach. And if he can just, get a little bit more consistent, he's going to be a really player for them. And I think he's going to get a real opportunity to play right away. Certainly another position of need for Green Bay.
That's what I was looking over the Packers depth chart and just where they are when the draft was over. And I'm like, okay, what is Chris McClellan going to need some seasoning? Is he going to need some time? And looking over it, I was like, oh shit, like he might have a real shot very quickly, depending on what the Packers do or don't do heading into training camp. So that got me even more excited, where I was like, all right, let's get him on the field and see what he looks like.
I have a feeling they're going to get him into the weight room, try to get him a little bit more strength and meat on the bones, and try to get him at that nose tackle spot so that Devontae Wyatt and Javon Hargrave can play next to him in that new 3-4 under Jonathan Gannon. But we'll see. Like you said, the big thing there too is versatility, and that's what Brian Gutekunst talked about too, is the fact that he can play any position on the interior of the defensive line and do a lot of different things for you. So we'll see where he ultimately ends up, but Green Bay should have a lot of options on where they can play him. Let's go to the fourth round. I keep getting mixed up because the crap Packers didn't have a first round pick, but fourth round, deny Dennis Sutton, edge rusher out of Penn State. I think this was, if the last one was one the Packers Twitter had a little bit of trepidation on, deny Dennis Sutton is the one that they were, throwing, bashes and parties for as soon as the pick was made. Again, edge rusher out of Penn State, your thoughts on his overall tape and evaluation?
So it is a meme that goes around draft Twitter all the time, but I think it applies to Denied and Sutton pretty well, where it's like, oh my God, he's got this bend. He can run the hoop, and he does this and that and the other. He looks like this great edge rusher. And then Brad Pitt is like, if he's such a good pass rusher, how come he don't rush the passer good? That's my takeaway on Denied. But honestly, having said that, I like the value of this pick, because like we're talking about pick 120.
Yep.
And Dennis Sutton at his height and weight ran the 3-cone. He was one of 4 guys to run the 3-cone at the combine, 4 edge rushers. People don't do it anymore. They don't like to put that on tape if they don't have to. When Dennis Sutton did it, I was like, okay, I get why you would want to do that. You're freaking awesome at it. He did. It was like a 6'9" or something like that.
He crushed it.
He's a freak. And so based on his measurables and his athletic ability alone, I fully expected him to get picked in the 70s or 80s at the worst, just because guys like this don't grow on trees. But the tape's not very good, at least compared to the freakish measurables and traits. The tape, you're just kind of like, okay, I see like your ankle flexation, and I see you that, like, you can dip your shoulder all the way down to the ground, but where's the pressure? Where's the sacks? Like, why don't tackles look like they're struggling to deal with you? But hey, I don't have a problem at pick 120 with taking a swing on a guy like that and saying Jonathan Gannon can work with him. Not only is he in the room with Micah Parsons, but he's a Penn State guy. And Micah Parsons is like, not all NFL players are big on the school pride thing and like care about where they went to school. Micah Parsons does. Like, he's real big into repping the Nittany Lions. So I would like to think he can take this Penn State guy under his wing, and who the hell knows what could happen. Like, I'm not going to lie and say I think the production is amazing, but in the 4th round, you're taking swings at traits on guys with upside at very, very important positions. I think that's great. Because based on, again, the stuff you see on tape and the stuff at his combine, I would have thought somebody would have taken a swing earlier, because you just don't see guys like that very often.
We're 100% in lockstep. You watch the tape and it leaves you just want more. I don't know. Tape alone is probably what, like 5th, 6th round grade. And then you look at the freaky, if you look at everything else, if you look at the measurables, 8.5 sacks the last couple seasons, over 120 pressures in his career at Penn State, played at a Big Ten school, no major off-field red flags or injury issues. And again, the insane athletic profile, all of that stuff is projected like, 1st, 2nd round type of pick. So you just have to reconcile. It's like all that stuff looks amazing. The tape is meh. And I think you average it out to 4th round. All right, perfect. That's exactly where I would want to get him if I were a team.
You don't want to completely write off the 4th round as a meaningful pick. Like, I feel like the 4th round is still a spot where you're hoping to draft guys who can, if not become starters, then grow into a meaningful role on your team. Like, I don't want to dismiss that round entirely, but I do think the value starts to drop off there. And if you quote unquote whiff on a 4th round pick, it shouldn't set you back the way that missing on a premium pick would or should. And so, yeah, like, you line up the value with the position we're talking about and the potential for upside. I'm doing that damn near every time. Because I mean, like, what's, obviously, like, I know David Bakhtiari was drafted in the 4th round, but that's not the norm.
Nope.
The norm is that you're getting a running back who plays 2 years for you before you find a succession plan, or an offensive lineman who you hope only starts a handful of times across his contract. Like, that's the norm for a 4th round pick. So, like, if we're taking a swing on a guy with upside, I don't have a problem with that.
Well said. Let's go to the 5th round. Jagger Burton, the offensive lineman out of Kentucky. Your evaluation on him?
Isn't this just an amazing Packers pick?
Yes.
I mean, like, the Green Bay Packers taking a guy who can play all 3 positions across the interior. I'm just like, yeah, okay. That's my evaluation. I don't have anything particularly enlightening to say about the player himself, but when you look at his scouting card with the team that drafted him, it's like, all right, Green Bay is probably going to ask you to do all of that, if I had to guess, at various points. They love their versatility, and it sounds like Burton is the type of guy that can do it. So again, when you're using day 3 picks to like fill out the depth chart and just address depth, it's very on brand, in my opinion, for the Packers to do that.
Yeah, very Packersy pick. The only non-Packersy thing about it is usually they take a college tackle and then move him inside and have him play a bunch of different positions. But
I was gonna say you're right about that, and I was actually wondering just now, like they're not gonna, surely they won't try to get him to play tackle, will they?
No,
but then I don't.
Even though he'll still have to, it'll be very Jacob Monk-esque where they drafted Monk at that spot. He was center guard. He's had that 3-position versatility on the inside, and I think this is going to be a very similar type of pick to that.
Yeah, I fully expect to see him everywhere.
Yep. All right, let's go to Damani Jackson, corner out of Alabama on the 6th round.
Damani Jackson's an interesting one because, again, Dane and I started building the beast in August, and I don't remember exactly where he was ranked, but like, you're talking about a cornerback at Alabama, a program that has produced so many professional players. We talked about Jackson's just like, hey, keep an eye on this guy. He could climb up the draft boards depending on how Alabama does, depending on how he improves as an NFL player. Obviously, didn't quite work out for him that way. And it's always fun to see, like, okay, who climbs and like maybe they're on the fringe radar and they become like a first round guy, and who maybe doesn't have their season go the way that they thought it would. I mean, the most notable one is that Peter Woods was Dane's preseason #1 player, and he still wound up being a first round pick, but down at number 30, closer to the end of the first round. Damani Jackson is a guy where I feel like he was on my radar as not a first round pick, but like a day 2 pick. And you get him down here in the 6th round. The pedigree at Alabama, like again, like the level of competition you played, the games that you've played, makes me intrigued. I'm always willing to take a swing on guys like this. He's got good size, he's got good athleticism, but you're getting drafted down here because the tape is inconsistent. He's an older player, so like you don't have the benefit of like Brandon Cisse, where you're like, oh my God, this guy's got so much football left to play. Not to say I love drafts. I love draft speak though, because he's 23 and I'm just like, oh, he's so old. But you're talking about a guy who's further along in his development than somebody like Brandon Cisse. But 6th round, this is again a position of need for the Packers. A guy with good size, good athleticism, who went to a football factory. It strikes me as a very Packers thing to do, and a thing that I would do. Like, let me get the good athletes on my team and hope that NFL coaching can bring the best out of them.
Yeah, 5-star recruit out of high school, played USC, Alabama, has got all the athletic traits that you're looking for. Didn't work out great, but I also think, if you're going to be a 6th round pick, you better be able to have some special teams chops too, to, kind of make the roster and get on the field initially. And I think he's going to be able to do that while he tries to, up his skill set to try to get into a starting lineup down the road.
If you're a DB and you can't find a way to make yourself useful on special teams, then yeah, come on. Especially like as a 6th round pick too. Like let's get with it.
Speaking of special teams, the Packers move of the entire draft, take 2 7th round picks, move up to get Trey Smack, the kicker out of Florida, in the 6th round, one of the great names of the draft. What was your thought on the move up to get a kicker?
No, I'm going to turn it back on you because like I have no problem saying I'm not evaluating kicker tape.
No, me neither.
Goody was the one. I mean, he made it very simple. Just like, is it good or is it not good? So like, I don't have a scouting report on this guy, but you live in the Packers world. What's the take here? What are people thinking about this?
First of all, I want to say for all the stuff that Dane does, I cannot appreciate enough the fact that he's just got kickers and punters listed in order. There's no need to do anything more than that. I don't need
Dane's never once tried to BS about evaluating kicker form. He's just like, this is what I heard.
I don't think Brian Gutekunst or most GMs, you could tell it was Acord, the special teams coordinator, that basically gave all the intel. I think that of all the things in the draft where if any coach or, coordinator gets any say over anything, I think it's especially, now they don't draft punters, kickers, long snappers often, but if you're going to go in that direction, I think it's just the special teams coordinator that you're just going to him and say, hey, look at these guys, tell me who's best. All right, you like this guy a lot. All right, we'll take him in the 6th round. But no, there's no take other than it sounds like their board sort of fell off after the 6th round. I think the guys they would have taken in the 7th round either would have been Trey Smack or kind of the guys that they got in undrafted free agency anyway. So they moved up. They basically got a free swing at a kicker. McManus, missed those huge kicks in the playoffs. The previous playoffs missed a huge kick as well. So he's, at 35, I think at this point, he's one of the older players on their team. So, there was not going to be any legitimate competition unless they did something like this. And so they said, screw it. We have competition everywhere else. We're going to have competition at kicker too. And I don't think there's any more take than it other than that.
You're 100% right. I covered the Cowboys for a long time before I got to The Athletic, and this was way before Brandon Aubrey, obviously, but I don't know, 5 years ago, the Cowboys were hunting kickers in the pre-draft process, and I remember I was asking somebody about it, and it was, there were draftable prospects. I think it was actually the year Cameron Dicker came out,
sure,
and Cade York, the LSU kicker. And I was like, okay, so do you like these guys? What are we thinking? And Bones Fossil was the special teams coordinator there at the time. And somebody told me, dude, Bones gave us his list and it looks nothing like what you would expect. He's got all his own preferences, all his own guys. He doesn't give a damn about the quote unquote board. And yeah, I think you're right. I think teams just put their trust in the special teams coordinator to know what they're looking for. I don't have a strong take about it other than that
I don't
from a national level, I was so tired of hearing about the Packers kicker position last year, or it's just all right, McManus is hurt, or is he not hurt? If he's hurt, why is he active? Why is their kicking situation such a mess? So
they had a month and a half where they had 2 kickers on the 53-man roster. If this can solve that and make sure that never happens again, this will be worth a 3rd round pick in my book. So no, I'm more than happy if this can actually work out the right way, that they can, maybe go in a different direction and have a decent kicker in Green Bay for the first time since Mason Crosby was in his prime. Dave, I know you're incredibly busy. Just final thoughts on the Packers draft and how they kind of went about their entire draft strategy over the weekend.
I feel for the Packers because, look, it's hard not to have a 1st round pick, and it's going to affect your enthusiasm for a class if you don't have that caliber of a pick. And on top of that, what really sucks for Green Bay is if Micah Parsons was completely healthy and you're just yeah, I'll feel fine about not having a pick when we roll out the ball on September 5th or whatever it is, I wouldn't give a damn. It sucks that you don't even have right now that to lean on and say, well, Micah's there. And he will be eventually, but you would just feel so much better if you knew he was ready to go right now. And the fact that we're kind of, waiting to see what that looks like and how quickly he can get up to speed and when he can get on the field, it kind of, it dampens your enthusiasm just a little bit, or at least it does for me. So I'm pulling like hell for Micah's recovery to go as smoothly as possible. And I think when he is healthy again, then that allays so many concerns that you have about the Packers as well as their draft class. And so that's my big thing with them is when does old number 1 get back on the field? But I like for me, it's really the main 3 picks. I like the value with Cisse. I already told you how much I love McClellan, and then Dennis Sutton, an upside swing. I think I would be pretty surprised if any of these guys were a major rookie star, but A, what the hell do I know? And B, if Micah Parsons gets healthy and gets doing his thing, then the Packers should be just fine.
Yeah, I think so too. It sounds like all of his recovery is going great. It sounds like probably a quick pup visit for maybe those first 4 weeks, and then likely should be good to go right around that week 5. And if that's the case, and I know from a Green Bay standpoint, I don't know of any fans that are wishing they could redo that trade. Bummer, like you said, that the ACL issue happened, but if he can come back as Micah Parsons in week 5, I think everyone's going to forget about it pretty quick.
For the record, I would do it all over again if I were Green Bay. I mean, that's not enough to stop me. And
Agreed.
I mean, it gets dicey trying to analyze this right now, but like the Cowboys with the pick that would have been Green Bay's drafted an edge rusher that they hope can be. I mean, you don't even hope it can be Micah Parsons. That's just not a realistic hope, but they hope he can be a productive player. And I don't blame Green Bay whatsoever, even with the injury. If they'd rather just have the best pass rusher in the world under the age of 30, I think that's fine.
Well, also trading a 4th-round pick for Rashawn Gary too in the meantime, and getting Kenny Clark and doing a bunch of other stuff at the position, Quinnen Williams, etc. So they're trying to rebuild that line.
The Cowboys, I mean, it looks completely different down there in short order, and I'm very excited to see. And like Quinnen Williams is a great player. Obviously, Caleb Downs is very exciting. Like I think there's reason for optimism, but need a lot of stuff to happen to feel like it's okay that you let go of a guy like Micah Parsons. I'm not quite ready to say that yet, but I'm a lot more intrigued to watch the Dallas defense than I was 2 months ago. That's for sure.
I think they're top 5 most intriguing teams for sure. I don't think there's any question about it. Dave, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for joining us and talking all things draft and Packers here. Obviously, again, Dave Helman _ on social media, Athletic Football Show. Anything else you'd like to plug on the way out?
We are, I mean, hey, even in the off season, we're 4 days a week, the Athletic Football Show. The draft is over, but we'll be going strong into the spring and all through the summer. But no, that's where you can find me 90% of the time, along with my co-hosts, Robert Mays and Derek Klassen. I already can't wait to get started on year 2 as we head toward training camp. So yeah, come find us. We're on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're not listening, it is, again, the best national show out there for all things NFL. I enjoy the heck out of it. It gives you such a well-rounded approach. And, a lot of national shows you listen to and you get to them talking about your team. It's the Packers. And it's like, oh my God, these guys are so, I've never had that with you guys. You guys have always been in touch and have had the pulse of the team every single time. So you guys kill it. Keep killing it. I know you guys will. Again, at Dave Helman _ on social media, the Athletic Football Show. You can find me at Andy Herman NFL, the podcast, at Pack-A-Day Podcast. That's going to do it for us today. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.